All right, so should be good to go. Can you hear me on the speaker over there, Audrey? Yeah, we're missing Cheyenne too. So here's the deal, guys. We're going to start kind of our listing jam. I want all of you guys to be proficient on the listing side. I know some of you guys have practiced, but now it's going to be like, holy crap, force your practice, get this done, because we're going to each week until we get through all of this on Wednesday, we're going to be going over the listing presentation, listing presentation, listing presentation, listing presentation, listing presentation. Everybody gets to do it. Right. And of course, it'll start with me doing it, the process that we use. One of the things I want to let you know is when you all joined up with the Roost, you got a link from Audrey for your Canva listing presentation. So you guys are able to go through and actually customize the listing presentation. So we've given you a nice outline to use, but not every one of the bullet points in those 23-point marketing are bullet points that you're probably going to use. And so my recommendation to you is you go through, you take a look at your own listing presentation template. And as you're practicing, I want you to take the bullet points out that you're not going to use. If you're not going to use it, it's great point. Don't have it in your listing presentation. Okay. So specifically, I'm talking about these 23 points that are here. Yeah. And if you take out, 4 of the points, you have a 19-point marketing plan. That's fine. Remember, I replayed a listing training that I did for the Stern team, probably 8 years ago, 10 years ago, or something like that. And we only had 18 points. And guess what? We were the top listing team in the entire state of Utah. So you don't have to have 23 to make this work. But what you have to do is make sure each one of these bullet points that we're going to go through has some sort of a close, assumptive close, or a tie down that's associated with it that can help you move the conversation forward. And they also have to be things that you're going to do. Because if you're not going to do it, then don't put it in here. You're not going to tell the seller that you're going to do something that you're not.
Right, let's talk about open houses. I'm not going to do it.
Well, you won't, but you'll have somebody else.
That's why I took it out.
Really? Oh,
I'm
dude,
just joking.
I was like, no way, man. No way, because we'll always do that. So, all right. So for Jim and Tracy, did you guys get the link from Canva? You got that, right? So you can kind of customize the presentation that we have here. Okay. If you hopped on a minute late, you may have missed the fact that every single one of you is going to get an opportunity to present to me. And I'll be taking notes about what's right, what's wrong, what we can do better, right? So if that doesn't make you nervous, I don't know what will. But if I don't make you nervous, then you're going to be nervous on your clients. And so I'd rather you be nervous with me than on your clients, all right? That's it. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover that. This is the strategic selling system, you guys, just so you know. In your mind, if you can change the language, don't call it a listing presentation. Nobody in the world except realtors knows what a listing presentation is. All right. What do we do, when we're presenting? We're telling them what it is that makes us so unique and so very different from the competition. Okay. So I like to call it a strategic selling system, not a listing presentation. Are we clear on that? All right. So I've got one printed out right here and bound up. The way I typically will do this is I'll actually have this in a 3-link binder, and each part of this will be in a plastic sleeve. Now, if you're going to go on a listing appointment and ahead of time, Audrey, can we throw just a quick training together where we show them how to do the pre-list and what the pre-list pre-listing appointment video is, and just get them all trained up so people like Jim and people like Ryan know that they can actually have a video sent out on their behalf. And as long as they've customized their own listing presentation to make it theirs, then she'll send that out on your behalf.
Training on how to do that binder. I don't know how to do that. I know there's a machine here. But I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, no problem.
To do that.
Mckay could show you, or if one of us is available, I have no problem showing you how to do it. I've used a bunch of these. So those of you guys who are new, generally speaking, when we do a listing presentation, I have in the drive a note-taking, this is what I use when I walk through my listing presentation. All right. First thing that you guys need to know is that at a listing presentation, show up about 10 minutes early, do a drive around the neighborhood. On this document here, the first part of this in here is exterior notes. So I'm taking exterior notes about the property or the neighborhood before I even go inside of the home. So show up a little bit early so you guys have a chance to do that. Then I'm going to go through all the different questions that are on this with these guys today. All right. So these are all of if you haven't seen this form, I'll leave one printed out here at the office for you, but you guys all have access to this in the drive. Every time you go to a listing appointment, take this form. A listing appointment is a system. I do it exactly the same way every single time, 100% of the time, right? It's just a system, and the system already works. So don't mess it up. It already works. All right. Just treat it like a system, do it the way that I do it. It'll work for you guys too. Trust me, I trained the entire Stern team on all of this, including Lee. They all do it exactly the same way, 100% of the time. And that's why they list so many damn properties. So I show up 10 minutes early. I'm taking notes up to the door. I knock on the door. They come to the door. I'm standing at a 45-degree angle from the door, so I don't look like a threatening, axe murderer, like, so just stand away from the door a little bit. When the client answers the door, the most important thing is to give them a compliment about something about the property, right? So do you do your own landscaping? Great paint job, man. I love the brickwork on this house. What a wonderful front patio. And if there's nothing that you can compliment them on about the house, which I'm just throwing that out there, you're going to get to one where you'll be like, oh boy, compliment them personally. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Wojciechowski, you have such a nice smile. Thank you so much for having me over. When they invite you inside, please ask to sit down at the kitchen table. You're not going to be presenting in the living room. It sucks. Don't do it. Now, more often than not, these people are going to give you excuses of why not to sit at the kitchen table. It's a mess. I don't have space. I haven't cleaned up after my kids. You're just going to say, no problem. I miss hanging out with my little ones. They're all cleaning up after themselves nowadays. So this will be perfect. It'll bring back good memories. Or I've been sitting on soft surfaces all day. I would love to sit on a hard kitchen chair. When you get to the kitchen table, more often than not, they're going to give you an option to have a glass of water or soda or something like that. As long as it's not an alcoholic beverage, just nod your head and say, yeah, that's great. I don't care if you're thirsty or not. It's when in Rome, right? It's good manners, and it breaks down the ice,
And they just offered you something and they're being thoughtful,
Mhm.
and it was rude.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
alcohol, just like saying, no, still on the clock.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then what you're going to do is what's called a seller safe island. So the seller safe island, if you want to write that down, if you're behind the computer screen, seller safe island, there is a document there that tells you exactly what it is. If you've never done a seller safe island, go ahead and just bring the piece of paper with you and just read from it as you do it. Mr. and Mrs. Wojciechowski. The first thing I'd like to do is, by the way, just so you guys can see, I'm actually presenting to real people today.
Wojciechowski's.
We're the
Mhm.
Wojciechowskis.
Wojciechowskis. Let's see if we can get all three of
It's
us.
my name, by the way.
in
You
there.
took my name.
Yep.
Just pointing that out.
Yep, perfect. So Mr. and Mrs. Wojciechowski, this is the seller safe island again, guys. The first thing I'd like to do is ask you guys a series of questions that'll help me better determine your wants and your needs. After that, I'd like us to be able to go through the property and you show me around as if I were a buyer. Okay. And I want you to point out some of the things that sold you on this house, maybe when you bought it. And then of course, some of the things that sold you on the house after. Now, who's the note taker in the family? Yeah. Dave Wojciechowski, you're the note taker. Would you do me a favor? Would you grab just a pen and a notepad? And as we're going through the property, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks that the pros use to get their home sold for the most amount of money possible. Can you do that for me?
Yeah, I can do that.
Awesome, man. And then after that, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what it is that we do to sell homes. And finally, we're going to take a look at what your neighbors are selling their homes for so we can get a good idea of what the value of your property is going to be. And Mr. and Mrs. Wojciechowski, if we can agree on price, would it be okay to get the ball rolling tonight?
I'm not sure if we're ready yet.
Okay, great. Fantastic. All right, fabulous. So I'm going to put a pause on this. That was the seller safe island, and the seller safe island is done 100% of the time because buyers or sellers only want to know what you charge and what you think the house is worth. And so what I've done is I've laid this whole thing out in a way that they now know what to expect, but there are already in that, there were two types of closes I used. One is I'm getting Mr. Wojciechowski to grab a notepad and take notes as we go through the property. And then the other one is if we can agree on price, would it be okay to get the ball rolling tonight? Just ask the question 100% of the time. I do not react to yes or no. It doesn't make a bit of difference. What I'm doing is I'm setting the stage to direct the dialogue, and I'm not being manipulative when I direct the dialogue. These guys want to sell the house. I'm just getting them on my train because, by the way, I'm the best person for them to sell a house with. So I just need them nodding their head a bunch as we go through this process, right? So they're following the engineer, right?
That's right.
All right,
So it
perfect.
doesn't matter yes or no, you just keep rolling.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we
Okay,
just keep
great.
rolling.
Keep rolling.
Okay, great.
I missed you made a market bottom page. What's that?
Oh, I was gonna, so I'm actually gonna take notes as we go through.
Oh,
The-
okay. I just
So
thought-
that particular mark is just a response to the close. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so no big deal. All right, so first question I have for you guys is who do we have to thank for this referral?
My aunt Jemima,
Aunt Jemima, I love her.
her aunt Jemima.
Aunt Jemima. Fabulous. I'm just gonna send her a little thank you card. It's
Great.
okay, second question I have is if you guys could wave a magic wand right now, when would you like to be out of the house? What day would you like to be out of the home?
January 15th.
January 15th. All right. And can I ask you what's important about that date?
That's when I start my new job.
Okay, great. New job, and is that out of area?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, you're gonna have to leave Utah.
Yeah.
Stink. All right, got it. Now, another question I have for you is on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being brutally honest, how honest can I be with the two of you?
10.
10. She didn't even hesitate, right? Are you okay with that?
That sounds
So I
good.
filter nothing, I tell you like it
That
is.
sounds good.
All right, you sure?
Tell us the way it is.
Okay, you got it. So 10 it is. All right. Now, I assume that you probably sold a home before. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and it's probably been a number of years, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So one of the questions I have for you is, what is it that my team and I will do that will make this experience of selling your home a perfect 10? It's okay if you have different answers.
Mm. What do you think?
Well, you know, I'm detail oriented, so a lot of details.
Okay.
marketing And communication.
Details. So communication primarily, right?
Communication.
So is that just kind of keeping you out in front of the process so you know what to expect and what's coming next? Is that correct? Okay, so communication. And also just a clarity on communication. I generally like people to do phone calls to me, but I know that that's not for everybody. How do you guys like to be communicated with? Email, text, phone calls? What's your preference?
Phone for
Phone?
me.
Awesome.
Yeah, phone's good too.
Okay, cool. Now, like this meeting, sometimes I'm in a meeting and if I am and you leave me a message, it might take a couple of hours for me to get back to you. I assume that's fairly similar for you guys. A couple hours is normally good. And then also, just so you guys are clear, like when I go home, I do have a family at home that likes to have some of my time. And so unless it's really urgent, do you mind just if you have a need, just waiting until Wednesday, because Wednesday's the day that we're always going to be communicating, right? Would you just mind writing it down so you don't forget to ask? Would you
Okay.
do that for me?
Mhm.
All right, fabulous. All right, now if we could make this experience a 10 plus, how do we put this plus on it?
Marketing.
Marketing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of marketing.
Lots of exposure, massive exposure,
Massive exposure.
massive exposure. And what are your thoughts, Miss Jamie?
Let's see, 10 plus, man, you're swinging. You gotta
Mhm.
have to, that's gonna be big for me,
Yeah.
like, just that no matter, like, being willing to do whatever it takes to make
Okay.
it happen.
So, price, perfect. We're chuckling on this, you guys, because the two things or the three things that I'm gonna get, are almost always gonna be oriented around timing, communication, and price, right? So two of those are always gonna show up 100% of the time. And so I'm just nudging them just to let you guys know price is gonna be a big one of them. So price, getting you guys the most amount of money for your home, right? Just not leaving anything on the table. Is that correct?
Definitely.
All right. And then just having the type of exposure that will bring in the most amount of buyers in the least amount of time, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Got it. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If we could make this experience a 10 plus plus, what would that look like?
Make me feel like I'm your only client.
I love it.
Open houses.
You're never going to get that. Okay, got it.
Sorry, don't do those.
That means that clients won't say that.
Yeah, they'll never say that.
Free tacos on Friday. Oh, dang,
Got it.
Janet, I like that.
So outside of making you feel like you're the only client, is there anything that you would add to that, Dave?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Wojciechowski, that's perfect. All right. All right, excellent. So I'm gonna pause for a second, go off a script. So what I did is I asked the questions that were at the top of this note-taking form. If you just go ahead and do that every single time, you won't mess this up. If you don't do this, shame on you. Again, the Safe Island document, if you want, because you won't have it memorized like I have it memorized, right? You won't have it memorized. The Safe Island document is inside of the drive. Just type in Safe Island and you'll see it there, okay?
Even though I do,
Just print it and put it in your
Majority.
book.
Yeah,
I primarily have it most of memorized, I still read it
okay,
in
good.
front of the clients and nobody's ever said anything. So
They
it's
never
only a
will.
drunk
What if
monkey
when you're
telling
sitting
you
in the
not to.
car, you read through it before you go in?
Well, I used to listen to one of the old school real estate coaches, and that's how I learned what a safe island was. And he actually used Mr. and Mrs. Wojciechowski in the safe island. The way that you show up to an appointment, the way that you're 45 degrees from the door, where you sit down, how you get to the kitchen table in the safe island. I didn't make any of this shit up.
No, I love it.
I just started doing it right out of the gate and it works. And so when I trained my other agents, I had to have all of these questions down, right? So that's all we're doing. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna assume that we've already gone through the property, right?
Mhm.
And so now it's gonna be time to basically go through my 23-point marketing plan, which you guys see here. I'll scroll this thing up for those of you guys to kind of catch up. Again, 23 points, maybe more points than you guys want to cover. If there's any point in here that you're not going to use, then just go to your Canva link. If you need your Canva link because you can't find it, just email Audrey, she'll send it over to you. And then you could take the things out that you don't want and change it to a 22 point or a 19 point or a 15 point. It doesn't matter the amount of points. You know, you don't need all 23. And by the way, I never go through all 23 of these unless I'm training. I've never sat at a listing appointment and got through all 23 of these things.
Read it before.
Oh, no, probably half a dozen, probably. Yeah, probably a dozen. I have the ones that I really like to focus on, and that's what I'm going to focus on this time around. Okay. But before we do that, yeah.
It might be worth. Something you pointed out to me is what they say here
Yeah.
correlates to what you're gonna
Yeah.
go on
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah, so you hear the open house stuff that Dave's totally making up, the communication, massive exposure, right? So the things that I learn about that usually will show up in the 10 plus plus. If you're working like with real clients, that's usually unpeeling the layer of the onion enough to know what's most important to them. And that's why I asked this question 3 different ways. Because the third time, and by the way, the third time, most people are like,
I've done it. All
and you
my
know what your
buyers.
tendency is? Your tendency is to fill in the blanks for them.
Yes.
Do not do that.
Just wait.
Yeah, just patiently wait and let the silence do the heavy lifting. And one thing you may not be able to notice on the computer, Jim and Tracy, Cheyenne, is I want you to know that I'm making eye contact with both of these
The
people
whole time.
the entire time. My head is constantly moving back and forth and making eye contact with both people to keep
Phones
both
away.
of them engaged. Yeah, the only time I'd have my phone on is if I was recording the listing presentation
Mhm.
for an example to give to somebody
Keep
else.
mine to calculate their net when they ask me.
Yeah, very good. All right, so I'm gonna assume now that we've gone through and we've taken some notes on the staging kind of stuff. And so now I'm gonna just ask you guys a quick question. I know that you guys want to be out of here on the 15th of January. Could I ask you, what do you think is a reasonable time frame for you guys to have some of these staging things done that we talked about today?
Just a couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah, quick.
Really?
Yeah.
You-
Maybe after the weekend.
Maybe
Monday.
through the weekend?
weekend.
Okay, gotcha. So if I were, what is today, the 8th? So if I were to have my photographer call you guys on Monday, who would I have them reach out to?
Hey, reach out to me.
Yeah, Dave, you're the guy. All right. So we're thinking Monday, we should be good for that. Oops. And we'll have the photographer just reach out to you, maybe even on Friday if we're going to be ready to shoot it on Monday. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
All right. All right, perfect. Great. Fantastic, guys. Okay, now what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you what it is that my team and I do to get properties sold. For those of you guys who don't have a team, you actually do have a team. You are a part of the Utah Roost. The Utah Roost is a pretty valuable, high performance team. You've got a full-time marketing coordinator, transaction coordinator that's available to you. You guys are a part of that. You are a part of the office. So don't use the word I or me in your presentation. Use the word us and we.
Even when I'm like a solo. engineer,
That is
so-
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We still
you,
have a team.
yeah, you do. You have it in, yeah, all of it, right? So I just want to get you guys using proper vernacular. I and me is not going to do it. We is what sells. Us is what sells. All right, great. So the very first thing that you're going to see on here is strategic price positioning. I really don't spend any time talking about that right now because I talk about that throughout the process, and I also talk about it when I'm going through my absorption report and my comparables, my CMA. All right. So I don't spend much of any time. I'm not sure that you have to either, but you can. If Mr. and Mrs. Seller, wouldn't you agree that in a shifting market, it's more important than ever to get the price right out of the gate? Okay, so that's why we're going to talk about this pricing in great detail after we're done with this, okay?
Mhm.
So that's
Correct.
one way that you could choose to talk about it if you want to talk about pricing.
Mhm.
All right, staging. Now, we've already talked about staging, but I'm going to bring it back, again. So the importance of staging, obviously, is that 100% of the buyers are going to get all of the information about your home in a two-dimensional world before they ever come here to see the property, right? So with that staging, it's so important. All of the things that we've talked about to this point, keeping those flat surfaces clear of everything other than decorative items. Yes, the coffee pot's got to go down in the cabinets, all right? I call it fake living day. All right, so you're only doing this for the day. The coffee machine can come back up after the photos are done, right? Would you mind, by the way, just setting a kitchen table for us when the photographer comes over?
Yes.
All right, just make it look like we're having company. Bring out your best china, it'd be great. All right, so you do that for me?
All right.
All right, perfect. That'll make it so much easier when the buyers see a property that looks like it's move-in ready.
Mhm.
The first time that we sell the house is the hardest time, and that's in a two-dimensional world. So thanks for your cooperation on that. Now, you guys, we do have a preferred buyer database that we work with. There's over 7,000 registered buyers that are in the database. Odds are one of them is going to be a fit for your home. Do you mind if, when I'm in a pre-marketing process, which I'll talk a little bit more about, do you mind if I go ahead and notify them about the availability of your home before I let the rest of the world know?
Sure.
All right, they'll feel like a VIP, and it really helps us to build that urgency to get out to the property. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Global marketing. Now, I don't know if you realize this or not, but in the United States, 1 in 12 buyers are actually foreign buyers. And so we like to use a global system for marketing your property. So people that are coming from out of the United States have access and information to your property. Wouldn't you agree? As a real estate agent, my job is to cast the broadest net possible because
Mhm.
I don't know where the buyer's going to come from.
Right.
But that's why you're hiring me, is that massive exposure that we
Okay.
talked about earlier. All right. Now, we're going to use 2 different MLS systems here. You all are aware of the fact that Utah leads the nation in migration. We have more families moving in for the last decade. You've seen it grow, right? So we've had more families moving in here than we have anywhere else. We like to use a national MLS system we call the KWLS, but we also like to use the multiple listing service here locally. It's called Utah Real Estate. I'm sure you've been on there and seen many properties yourself,
Sure,
right?
I think so.
All right, fantastic. So you see, having the benefit of now 3 different types of MLSs can cast that broad net. It guarantees us access to buyers quicker, and quicker access to those buyers just means your home's going to sell for more money in the time frame that you're looking for.
Hmm.
All right. Professional photography, again, on the staging side of this thing. Have you been on utahrealestate.com and you've seen like the do-it-yourself pictures? And how do you
Oh,
feel
yeah.
about that?
They're terrible.
It's like looking down a cardboard tube at a photo, right?
What are they using their cell phone? And like I can see their shadow?
Honestly, a lot of agents are doing that, and it's a shame. So we like to use a professional photographer. They use a wide angle lens. All right. That wide angle lens means everything that you see right now in your peripheral vision is what's going to show up in the picture. buyers are terrible. They have no imagination. And like I said, it's so hard to sell them in a two-dimensional world, much easier when they get out here to actually sell that property.
Mm,
So we're going to use a professional photographer in this case. And again, Dave, I'm going to have her contact you on Friday to get those photos done for Monday.
okay,
All right. And if something changes with that timing, will you please let me know?
yes.
All right, fair enough. We do like to target market agents. And so one of the things that I'm going to do when I get back to the office is I'm going to take a look real closely and find out the agents that have sold property in this area over the last, 3 months or so, because the odds are they're going to have other buyers that they're working with that want to live in your neighborhood.
Mhm.
Right. So again, it's not that I'm attracting the buyer specifically, it's that I'm being proactive and going directly to the agents to let them know that I've got this new listing in an area where they've already sold.
Okay.
Odds are pretty good. They're gonna have buyers for that too. All right. We do target market buyers, and so we have a pretty good idea of where the buyer's gonna come from for a property like this. And so you've got this luxury apartment complex that's just less than a mile, up the road there. One of the things that I'll use is what's called a Mojo dialing software system, and it gives me access to scrub numbers, like the do not call list scrub numbers, to actually proactively make calls to these guys. And if you're okay with it, I'd like to actually door knock through that luxury apartment complex, and I'll leave a flyer on the door letting them know about the grand opening that we're gonna have, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in just a moment. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds
You
good.
okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, fabulous. Grand opening. One of the biggest ways that we can put our property up on the market with a big old splash. All right. So what we like to do is once those photos are done, Dave, on Monday, I like to have basically that week to be able to pre-market the property. Generally speaking, what we do is we'll go live on the market on a Wednesday, but we hold the showings until the grand opening. And Dave, can I ask you guys, Mr. and Mrs. Wojciechowski, both? If those photos are done on Monday, are you comfortable with me doing a grand opening that following Saturday?
Yeah,
Are you okay with that? All right, I'm just gonna take a note on that really quick for me. So basically, I liken this pre-marketing to putting a floodgate down. I want to let the water build up behind that floodgate before I open it up. The water are all the buyers. I want all of the buyers in your property at the same time, because as you probably know, every buyer wants what the other buyer wants. And so if I can get them into your house at the same time, that's great. Now, here's the deal. Generally, I do a grand opening in a 2-hour time frame. But if I'm like Jim and Tracy Nelson, I'm going to have this available to your neighbors 30 minutes before I open it up to the public. What I'm saying is, are you comfortable if I do the grand opening from 10:30 to 1 o'clock on Saturday?
yeah, I think that
Yeah.
works pretty good.
Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit less comfortable. I need you guys out of the house by 9:30 or so, because I'm gonna show up early to make sure I get all the signs out before everybody begins showing up. And here's the real challenge that you're gonna have. Oftentimes you have buyers that come back, they come in late for the open house, they stay later. And so usually I'm not out of your house until 2:30 or so. But I'm going to ask you this question: with a property like this, I'm pretty sure we're going to attract a lot of buyers that are going to have to come back with their agents afterwards. Would you be willing to just take off for the day Saturday? You have a place to go?
Yeah, we can go to our lake house,
The lake house, the leaching house.
the leak house.
The
leak
leak
house.
house.
That's what we call our lake house.
No, it's their leak house, not the lake house.
I got it. Well, you probably discovered all the leaks
Our
this
lake
summer.
house is
didn't you?
leaking.
Yeah, gotcha. Perfect. So you guys are okay doing that for me?
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any questions about that grand opening?
Mhm.
So when we do go live on our local MLS system, I like to hold the showings until Saturday. I'll make a few exceptions if the buyers are going to be out of town. All right. So are you okay? Just if we hold off on those showings, say no to any of the showing requests that come through
Sure.
until Saturday?
Okay,
All right. And I'll let you know if we need to make an exception.
all right.
Is that cool? All right, good. Signage. Now, here's the deal. I don't use like one of those little rinky dink metal signs like your neighbor had when I was driving past. Did you see that sign? No, you didn't see it?
No.
Okay,
Oh,
because
Yeah.
I mean,
no.
you would miss it if you weren't really paying attention, right? So I have a professional sign company that's going to come in. They're going to install one of those big professional wooden signs here. And the only concern that I have is making sure that we get it in a visible place without busting up a sprinkler pipe. So Dave, when we're done today, would you mind walking me out to your park strip and just kind of show me where the sprinkling line runs through, so I can just take a quick picture of it and let my sign guy know?
Okay,
All right. Now, the sign guy that we use, he is licensed and bonded. So if for some reason he does actually break your sprinkler system, it's not going to happen, but he's insured. All right. So I don't want you to panic. I just want to prevent any issues.
We don't want any more leaks.
Yeah, no
Right.
doubt. You already have a leak house. All right.
Right.
Now, I'm on to, sorry, let me just switch this page for the folks at home. That was the signage one here. Now we're on to text writer. So here's the deal. Sure, I'll have a phone number on my sign, but there's like a 1 in 1,000 chance that a buyer's actually going to call the phone number. Like buyers don't want to feel obligated. Studies have shown that buyers are 3 times more likely to inquire about a property when there's no risk of obligation. So what we do is we build essentially like a 24-hour open house for your property, where people can just text in on a sign writer to receive all of the details, including the photos about your home. All right. And the end result of that is we have 3 times more people coming through. And the good news is, as they're calling, which I encourage you guys to actually call it yourselves, you'll do that for me, right?
Okay.
Or you'll just text it, yourself, do that and just kind of take a look at it and make sure that it looks good to you.
Okay.
All right, so here's the deal. We're gonna call those same people because now we'll capture their cell phone number and we're gonna invite them to the grand opening that we're gonna have on Saturday. All right, so you're gonna have a lot of extra people that are gonna come through just because of that.
Great.
All right, so massive exposure. Blah, 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 blah. That's why you hired me. All right, email cultivation. I just don't ever talk about it because everything I'm talking about is already massive. So I'm not, if you want to talk about, in addition to the aforementioned, we heavily market to the thousands of agents along the Wasatch Front, as 94% of real estate sales involve realtors. If that's what you want to say, and it's different from what you said previously about target marketing agents, that's fine. Go ahead and just let them know. We've got over 10,000 licensed agents across the Wasatch Front. They're all working with buyers. There is going to be a big benefit to, now I'm repeating myself, going on the MLS system to let the other agents know so they can bring their buyers. This is why I don't really talk about that one, because I've already talked about it in many other ways, right?
Yeah.
Email cultivation. Also, I don't do a lot of talking about the email cultivation, right? Because here's the deal. I have a preferred buyer database that has all the emails in it. Right. So I don't spend a lot of time talking about the email cultivation because I'm just repeating myself. So, and it could go something like this. Now, I told you we've got more than 7,000 registered buyers in our system, right? Our goal with that is to be able to cultivate the emails from them so we can reverse prospect and let them know about this property. Again, out of 7,000, surely at least one of them is going to be a fit for your home. Wouldn't you agree?
I hope so.
Oh, at least
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
Yeah.
So super key box, you probably have seen those now on properties, the big blue things, they're clunky, they're big, but they're super cool. They're all high tech. Like I know who's in your property, I know when they're in your property, and I know when they leave your property, when they close it up. And by the way, if they don't close it up, I know who has your keys. Okay, but here's the deal. I hate putting that thing on the front door. It makes it hard to open the doorknobs. It like screams, come and see me. And I don't want that happening. I want 100% of the people who are going to show it to schedule an appointment with us before they show it. Okay. So when we're done here, Dave, when we go out and look for that spot for that sign, would you also be willing to show me a place I could put that key box that's not on the front doorknob?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. All right, where am I here? Buyer screening. So here's the thing I can guarantee for you, Mr. and Mrs. Wojciechowski. I'm not going to waste any of your time showing a buyer a property that would never be able to qualify for your home. So I'm going to make a personal commitment that the buyers that I'm going to bring through your property are going to be pre-screened and qualified to actually purchase your home. We work with a fabulous lender. I wish you were staying just so you could have that experience. All right. Now, I cannot make that promise for other agents. All right. So I apologize in advance if an agent's going to show your property to somebody who would never be able to buy it in the first place. But I promise to you, I will screen all of my buyers for you. All right.
Okay.
Okay, fabulous. Showing service. This is excellent. So it used to be that all the agents would have to call me to be able to schedule a showing for the property. And you know what? If I was in a meeting, it takes some time to get back to them. So what we did is we hired a third-party showing service that is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to be able to schedule the showing, usually within about 15-minute blocks, right? And then it just texts you notification of the showing. Now, when that text comes through, I want you guys to go ahead and respond in the affirmative that you'll allow that showing to take place. Is that cool? Other than the Wednesday through the Friday when we're pre-marketing it, after that, I just want you to say yes. Let them come through because we have no idea when the right buyer is going to walk through your home. So our job is just to make it as available as we can make it. The other thing I'm going to tell you is I think those 15-minute windows are too tight. So more often than not, if an agent's out showing buyers' homes, they're going to be showing more than one home. And maybe there's traffic stuff that they have to deal with to get here. So I just want to say, have a little bit of grace if they show up early or late, okay? I'm not saying leave your house the entire time, wait for the knock on the door, let them in, and then you guys can take the dog out for a walk, all right? Or maybe you can just go for a little drive while they're in your house. Typically, a showing will last for about 15 to 20 minutes, but if a showing is lasting like 35 or 40 minutes, it's annoying, but that's a really good sign. They might just be sitting on the kitchen table, writing an offer on your house.
Mhm.
All right,
All right.
cool. So open houses. So I am assuming that we'll probably get the pricing correct right out of the gate. In the event that we have a challenge with pricing and we're not getting the type of response that we're looking for, then we will end up doing a price adjustment. We'll adjust to where the market is. When we do that, I'd like to have advance permission to schedule an open house around that. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay, no challenges with that? Fabulous, moving on. Lead generating for buyers. So I just also want to let you know that really from about 9 to 12 each day, I'm proactively looking for buyers for your property. So if you end up calling during that period of time, again, have a little bit of grace. I usually return my calls between 12 and 1 o'clock Monday through Friday while I'm looking for buyers for your property. All right.
Okay.
Most agents use what I call the 3 Ps of selling a home. And that is they put a sign in your yard, they put it on the MLS, and then they pray it'll sell. And we use all 3 of those too. But unlike the other agents, we're quite proactive. And as you've noticed, a lot of these things are me outreaching to other people looking for the buyer. And that's the real estate agent's job, is to bring the buyer. All right. So I don't rely on anybody else to do it, although I will give them the opportunity as well.
All right.
Fair enough? Classifieds. I'm guessing you guys have been on KSL, right? All right, cool. So a lot of other buyers are looking on KSL for properties as well. And so have you noticed if you're on KSL and you're looking for any one thing, you usually don't go down past 1 or 2 pages of stuff. So if I put a property on the market, like most agents, they'll put it up on the KSL one time. Usually by the end of the day or the next day, you're like 10 pages deep on KSL, right? And nobody's ever going to see you there. And so I have a special contract with KSL where we're actually posting those properties every single day. Now, who's the detail-oriented one in the family? I thought so. So Mrs. Wojciechowski, would you do me a favor when we get that ad up on KSL? Would you go and just take a look at it and make sure that all of the details are correct there for me?
Yes.
All right, I appreciate that. Direct mail. If you guys aren't going to do direct mail, don't do this. You know, you could add door knocking instead. We door knock to let all of your neighbors know about the property, or we door knock the luxury apartment complex, or we door knock the condominiums, right? You don't have to put direct mail. If you're not going to send out a quote unquote just listed card, then don't talk about direct mail. Don't talk about it. Right? You can change that. You can make it door knocking. You can call it circle prospecting, right? Where you're being proactive looking for buyers, right? But I'm guessing I can't get any of you guys currently to send out a newsletter. So I know for a fact, none of you guys are going to do direct mail. So therefore you need to freaking take direct mail out of that damn thing. All right. Change it, make it door knocking, make it circle prospecting. I know I'm pointing fingers at all of you. I'm pointing at that computer screen too. Yeah, everybody is.
I have a budget for it, but it's in the works.
Yeah, no, I get it, right? So just don't talk about it. If you're not going to do it, that's one of those things that you guys can customize and take out. Okay. Social media. Again, Jamie, I know that you're the detail person. So our team, Audrey, our team will put together a social media post for the grand opening with beautiful pictures of your property. Will you be willing to share that on your own social media?
Yeah.
Will you check it also for accuracy to make sure we don't miss anything?
Absolutely.
All right. So, you know, I'm going to reward you guys if you find a buyer through your own means and there's no other agent involved. I'm going to discount my commission. All right. We'll talk about our flexible commission structure in just a moment. I know that was important to you guys. All right. So the other side of this is constant contact. We're able to let you know about the showings 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Once we get feedback for those showings, which I give, I'm like the 3 strikes and you're out rule. Like I will personally call an agent 3 times to try to get feedback on your property. If I can't get it after the 3rd time, I can't keep chasing them, right? But anytime I get feedback, it's going to go into that service. You guys will have access to that, all right? Now, 1 time a week, and that day is going to be Wednesday for me. That's when I'm going to provide all my seller servicing. It's when we're going to update the absorption report. It's when we're going to update the comps. It's where I'm going to let you know about all the different activities that have taken place to expose your property. every week we're gonna do that. I'm gonna send out an email that's gonna have a lot of information, and then I'm gonna give you guys a call. Are you okay to be able to take a little break, say between 12:30 and 1 o'clock on Wednesday, to where we could just do a quick call together?
All right.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
You guys good with that? And so I'll just get both of you guys on the phone, just do a merge phone call. So,
Okay.
and we'll plan on doing that on 12:30. Cool.
Great.
All right, excellent. And then home warranty, again, this is not something you always have to talk about, but with Silverback Home Warranty, they do provide a free service of seller's coverage, okay? Which means your seller won't pay for a home warranty until it closes, but they have the benefit of the home warranty in the event that they have a hot water breakdown or a AC breakdown or a plumbing leak or an electrical issue or a roofing issue. They're going to be covered under that home warranty. They just have to pay the service fee. Why wouldn't you do that? Yeah, like, why would you not do that? You know, and so here I'm going to talk about it really quick. So home warranty is probably something you hadn't heard about, but basically it's like an insurance policy if anything breaks down on your home. Okay, buyers really love this. Okay, when they do a home inspection on your property, they get like a Bible-sized list of honeydews, and they try to come after us for all of those fixes, and we're just going to throw a home warranty in their face. All right, it's like $550, $650. You don't pay for it until you get to closing, but here's the real benefit for you, Mr. and Mrs. Wojciechowski, is that if something did happen while we're listed on the market, you don't have to pay for that home warranty to be able to use it. Isn't that the coolest thing?
That's great.
All right, so I highly recommend that we do it. Give some insurance policy to the buyers, but it does cover your butt. And this time of year, when winter is coming, is when we see the most problems.
Right.
Are you good with that?
Good with it.
Okay, so did you have any questions about our strategic selling system? Okay, fabulous. So that's it, guys. That's essentially the listing presentation. Now, if you look in this listing presentation, right, there's just like a ton of stuff I don't talk about. This is why this stuff is emailed in advance. You're actually emailing your listing presentation, usually through Audrey, but you can do it on your own, along with a pre-list video where it's me explaining how powerful you guys are and what makes us so very different from the competition. Okay, so they have all of that stuff. If they have any questions, they'll let you know. But like, I'm not going to sit there and talk about all the stuff they don't care about right now. They want to know what their home is worth, and they want to know what you charge to sell it.
So then what are you going to offer that?
Yeah, as soon as we're done with that, I'm going right into, notice I asked, do you have any questions about our strategic selling system? No, there was no questions. Great. So let's take a look at what your neighbors are doing to get their properties sold, right? And so when I'm doing this, I bind the properties together. You'll see a training on this, right? But I'll actually put it in a binder just like this. The very first page of the binder will be their property information from the tax ID and the MLS if they have an old MLS. Remember, when you're doing this, check to make sure that the square footage in the MLS is what shows up in the square footage on the county records. If not, this is a good time for you guys to get clarity from your sellers. Do you have an appraisal? I just want to get the square footage off of it, right? Because there's a discrepancy. If the discrepancy is like 20 or 30 square feet, don't worry about it. You know, but if you have a discrepancy like that's 150, 250, 350 or more square feet, you want to kind of get some clarity on it, right? I travel around with 100-foot measuring tape. Maybe one of these days I'll teach you guys how to measure a property, you know, because I've had to measure dozens and dozens of homes myself to try to get an estimate of square footage where things were so far off and they didn't have an appraisal. The other thing that you can do is you can actually have them pay for an appraisal. That's not a bad idea in this market, especially if we're out of whack on value where they think it's going to sell and where you know it's going to sell. You can say, look, you can also offer to pay for an appraisal. We used to do that. We called it Your Home Certified back in the Great Recession when it was very difficult to sell homes. We would pay for an appraisal and we would provide an upfront home inspection. And we would provide the home warranty, the seller home warranty. That's where the seller home warranty was born from, my system.
Are these things
Right.
that you get reimbursed from them on the closing, or it's just like out of your pocket, you just?
The home inspector didn't charge me, so Pillar to Post will probably do this for you. Just tell them you're working with Josh Stern, but they didn't charge me until closing. We just put it on the HUD. settlement statement on closing, right? With the home and the home warranty, they do not charge for that until you get to the closing table. Now, if you guys are charging a service fee, right? So a VIP marketing fee, you can up your VIP marketing fee to $895, right? And that extra $500 will reimburse you for the appraisal that you paid for upfront. Now, you can also pay an appraiser to just do a measurement of the property, and that's like $100, $150 to do that if you need to do that. So those are just some options that you guys would have available. But yeah, now we're looking at the property deed, and before I go into any of the comps, the very next page that I show them is the absorption report. We went back yesterday to doing absorption reports. So I do an absorption report for their area, could be their zip code. If there's usually, we still have an inventory issue, so there's not enough properties in a neighborhood to do just a neighborhood absorption report. And so usually I'll do zip code, or I'll just kind of an area. You know, we're in West Valley right now, but just this West Valley, this particular part of West Valley area, right? So I'll show them what's going on in terms of the absorption report, right? Then we're going to take a look at the sold comps. Then we're going to look at the comps that are pending, and then we're going to look at the comps that are active. And when we're done with that, it's going to be very easy for me to say, based upon what you guys have seen here, what do you feel the value of the property is going to be? Go ahead, shoot at it. You know this property now. What's the value of this thing?
$1 million.
$1 million, okay? And based upon the sold comparables that I've put forward in front of you, do you see any properties that have sold in the last 6 months for $1 million?
Nope.
No. And so when we compare these properties to your property, we can see we're looking to apples here, right? We already talked about that as I was going through these, how they're the same square footage, they're in the same area, they're relevant in that these are the same comps that an appraiser is going to have to use to get the property sold. So basically what I can see here is that the value is showing us that we're closer to 850,000. 850,000. So I think we do the right thing by attracting the most amount of buyers so we can get you out by January 15 and get this property priced at 850,000. Okay.
Okay. But no.
Okay, no, I totally understand.
No,
So,
yeah.
so Dave, one of the things, you know,
Too
now,
low.
now I'm gonna
Give me away,
go,
I don't have to
We're not
say.
giving it
this is all real shit, right? So now I'll go right into those
down.
price objection slides. And we'll talk about what time on the market does to damage the value of the property, right? And I'll have those right in my listing presentation, those 4 pricing slides.
So whatever
And-
objections you get, you'll go to that, right?
Yeah, and I'll go right to it and I'll say, now, Mr. and Mrs. Wojciechowski, the last thing I want to do is have a property stuck on the market for the longest period of time, and I don't want to leave any money on the table. You can see what happens when we've priced it above where the market is. The amount of time that we're on the market starts to extend. We're definitely end up in a situation where we pass that January 15th timeframe. All right. But I'd like to, in this case, give you the benefit of the doubt. So here's what I'm going to tell you. We'll go ahead and price it at 900,000, Dave, but we need to pay attention to what the market says. Okay. The first 14 days that we're on the market, we expect to see 10 showings.
Mhm.
Now, if we get the 10 showings, but we don't have any offers that come in, we'll pay very close attention to the feedback that we're getting. If we can make a change, we will. But more often than not, I find it's a culmination of things. And so that's the market telling us that we're 3% above where they are. Now, if we're on a market for 14 days and we don't generate 10 co-op agent showings, the market's telling us we're 3 to 5% or more above where they are. And we can't afford to sit on the market for a long time. I mean, you've seen some of these properties on Utah MLS that have been up there for, 50, 60, 70 days. What do you think about that? I mean,
What's
if you
wrong
were
with
a
them?
buyer, that's what you would be thinking, right?
Yeah, what the heck's
What-
wrong with
what's
it?
wrong with those properties? And then it actually does damage to our ability to get the home sold for the most amount of money in the time frame that works for you, right?
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and do the right thing and price it at 850,000 and get the ball moving forward.
No.
Okay, got it. So you want to go ahead and price this at 900,000, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay. So let's go ahead and do the 900,000. And then Dave, when we're going through our paperwork, which we're going to go through right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have us sign an addendum to our buyer or our listing agreement. That's going to have us adjust the price to 850 after 2 weeks, not before that though. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're just going to have you pre-sign that because again, time is our enemy.
Mm,
And it erodes the value of your home, and that's not what you want.
no.
So we're gonna go ahead and we'll just have that as a part of our agreement together, okay?
Okay.
All right, fabulous. And then I'm now gonna go through, I probably in that process, just so you guys know, I've gone through a net sheet. Okay, the net sheet is really easy. Here's what your house is gonna sell for. Multiply that by 0.072. Okay, that's 7.2%. That'll be more than enough to cover commission if there was a cooperative agent that you were sharing a commission with. That's 3% investment for us. That's how I say it. It's a 3% investment for us, and then we'll share 3% with that buyer agent. Okay, to incentivize them to bring the buyer. All right, and then we do the 1.2% of that. That's all your title insurance, your closing and recording costs, right? So I add all of that up. And then I ask, what do you guys owe on the property now? It doesn't have to be exact, but what's the approximate that you guys owe on it?
500,000.
About 500,000, right? So then what I'll do is I'll take that 7.2%, add it to that 500,000 and subtract it from the 850, which is what I know the house is going to sell for, even though you want the 9. You want the 9, I'm still doing it at the 850. We haven't barked yet up the 9 tree. Well, I don't want the 850. That's not enough. I want to get it for 9. That's when we bark up that tree. So I've gone through this based upon the sold comps and what I know the value is going to be. Usually you guys are going to get it right. You know, you're almost never going to be $1 million. But I always tell them, let's do the right thing and get that property priced where we're going to have the most amount of buyers. And if anything, Dave, we end up bidding up the property. All right. If you have multiple offers, because we've done so well at exposing the property and the property's priced correctly, you end up with multiple offers. You never negotiate down. You always negotiate up. Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Any questions from the two-dimensional world?
I think it's
I
really
have,
important to
I
remind.
have a question, I guess.
Hold on a second. Let me turn you up here really quick. All right, tear it up.
When you say that you're showing them the slides, just clarification question really, are you handing them this hard copy as well in a paper format?
The hard copy that I have sitting in front of me,
Right?
no, this stays mine.
Yes.
Yeah, now the comparables I bind up and it looks like this too.
Okay.
That stays with them.
That's what goes with
Yeah.
it. Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. Yeah, good question. Any other two-dimensional questions?
Can Josh just be my listing support animal?
Yeah, I'm with you, girl. Let's do it. Let's do it. You've got a ticket into Lee too, by the way. But I'm there for you, girl. All right.
All right.
What about the three-dimensional world? Let's go to questions this way.
I'm curious how long your appointment usually takes.
2 hours.
Okay.
That's assuming I got all the paperwork signed. 2 hours.
In and out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
do you prep them for that amount of time?
No,
Do you say an hour?
no,
20 minutes.
yeah. I ask them if you're interviewing other agents.
But you don't say this could take like 5 to 25 minutes. or, you know.
No, I don't ever. I never have. No, nobody's ever asked me, how
There's
long does it
scripts
take?
That Mike Craig, how that they do that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Mine takes 2 hours if I do the 5-step, you know, I show up 10 minutes early, I do the 5-step, or not the 5-step, sorry, the safe island. I go through the property, that all takes time. I'm taking notes the entire time. And then I actually do paperwork. I bring paperwork with me. And then I'm filling out the MLS input form while they're filling out the seller's disclosures. I say, if you have any questions about the seller's disclosures, make sure you ask me. In the meantime, I'm going to be filling out this gnarly detailed document called the MLS input form, you know? Yeah. Yeah, I do it right there. Yeah, I do it right there. Do it right there. Bring it in paper and do it right there. All of the paperwork you need is inside of the drive. Everything you need is there. Okay. So good question. Other questions from the three-dimensional universe, 3D, 2D to you guys, but 3D to me. Don't look at my nose.
Super important to remind.
So I just want to make a comment. I loved what you said, that 3% is an investment in some
Yeah.
marketing,
Yeah.
and the other 3% goes to the.
Yeah.
That I love that verbiage.
Yeah. The investment,
Yeah.
it's not an expense. You're investing. Right?
Yeah.
Studies have proven that good real estate agents can sell the property for more than a for sale by owner. I think the for sale by owners average 84% of what an agent sells a property for. That's a 16% difference. I'd say the 3% that you're gonna, my fee of 3% is not an expense, it's an investment. All right, Put that in your brain because that's the truth. Working with me is an investment. It's not a cost, it's an investment, right? What about from Jamie's, by the way, going to give us her listing and presentation next week. So, and don't worry, she'll be able to pick who's next.
Oh.
That's the fun
Yay.
part. So all you guys hiding behind these two-dimensional worlds, just so you know, and you too, Cheyenne, we'll give you plenty of notice, but you got to do a trip down to Salt Lake.
Ah,
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you can see the way that I do this. Can you see how that shows up in dialogue that I would be having with potential sellers on the phone? Like
Yes.
super crystal clear about the value that we offer. I have a strategic selling system that I've talked about 1,000 times. I know what we do to get a property sold with confidence. And so when I'm on the phone with a prospect, I'm coming across as like the guy. Like I'm meeting with that guy, you know, and I'll ask, are you meeting with anybody else? And yeah, what time? Because I'm either going to be first or last. If I'm last, I'm going to say, you got to promise me something. Just promise me. You know, I've been a part of more than 3,000 real estate sales. You are not signing, or we have been a part of more than 1,000 real estate or 3,000 real estate sales. Like how many seller listings has your market center sold? We have been a part of over 3,000 sold properties. Do not sign anything until we have an opportunity to meet so I can show you what it is that makes us so drastically different from the average agent. Notice that passion in the voice too, the inflection, right? Now, I prefer to be first because I got to close for that. So with my flexible commission structure, is there any reason that would prevent us from moving forward? No, well, I'm going to meet these other two agents. Well, look, Mr. and Mrs. Wojciechowski, based upon what I showed you, you already do feel as if I am the right agent for the job of getting your property sold in a time frame that works for you, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to give me the information for the other two agents that you're going to meet with. And with your permission, I'm going to go ahead and give them a call. I'm going to let them spend tonight with their family or tomorrow with their family. Okay. But I am going to give them the first opportunity to bring a buyer to your property. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Boom.
So what I'm doing is I'm taking the load, their obligation off of their shoulders and I'm putting it on mine. And if you don't think I've called many agents, just go ahead. Next time you see Mike Walters from the Stern team walking around the office, ask him how many times he was sitting in my car at the end of a listing appointment where I was calling the other agent to let them know that the home is listed with me. And you know, more often than not, what I would hear, well, at least I know it was you they listed with. Right? Because I was a name that people knew. They're like, well, if I'm going to lose a listing, at least I'm losing it to Josh Stern. Right? But just ask him how many times I've used that, because how many times are people going to say I'm meeting with other people? So why do I like to be first? I'm going to take that load, that anchor off of them. I'm going to take care of that. I'll do it. And I do that exact thing. Hey, guess what, Dalton? You know, you're going to meet with Mr. and Mrs. Wojciechowski. Well, we've gone ahead and signed a listing agreement. You are off the hook for tomorrow. Spend that time with your kids, or maybe get lucky and find another listing appointment. We've listed the property at $900,000, Dalton. I want to give you the first opportunity to bring a buyer to it. Okay. So we're going to make that available to you prior to our grand opening weekend if you've got a buyer. Okay. If I'm going to lose a listing, at least I'm losing it to Josh. There it is. All right. All right. Any other questions? Any other final thoughts? Bitchin'. We did it. Mission accomplished. Everybody gets the opportunity. Everybody wish Jamie some luck. She'll probably want to practice 1 or 2 times before she sits down next Wednesday. So be open to practicing with her. This is how we get better. All right.
So next week. And you guys,
Bye, two dimensionals.
Thank you.
Bye, Josh. Bye, everyone.
this meeting.
Yeah, we're going to do